Joe Barrow Lewis was one of the most dominant heavyweight boxers ever. He defended his title successfully 25 times in a row over the course of 12 years, with only 3 of those fights going the distance. He had a record of 66 wins, with 52 knockouts and only 3 losses. What made Lewis really stand out from all the other boxers at the time was his dominance and, more importantly, his technique. Joe's trainer, Jack Blackburn, had made it a priority to develop perfect balance while still being offensively and defensively responsible. Blackburn always saw that Lewis had incredible punching power, but he also knew that his power couldn't truly be utilized effectively without proper timing or accuracy. This is why he put so much time and emphasis into technique, and it paid off. Today, I'm going to be breaking down a multitude of Joe Lewis's techniques, strategies, and skills to highlight just how good he really was. One of the best qualities about Joe Lewis was his ability to adapt depending on the circumstances. There's really no better example of this than his iconic fights with Max Schmeling. In their first fight, Schmeling found multiple exploits that he could use to beat Joe. The most notable is that Lewis would drop his jabbing hand slightly after he threw it, which, if timed well, could be countered with an overhand right or a 4. Another tactic that Schmeling used against Lewis was the clinch. Throughout the fight, the same sequence would play out. Max would counter with an overhand right, and then clinch up and begin inside fighting immediately after. It was very obvious that Schmeling's inside fighting was superior to Joe's, and so he used this to his advantage. If they were at mid to long range, he would time the right hand, and if they were at close range, he would clinch up and time uppercuts. All of this eventually culminated into Lewis being knocked out in the 12th round. In the rematch, Joe Lewis not only corrected this dropping of his lead hand, but he also improved his inside fighting drastically. For one, he was much more aggressive, but he also noticed tactics employed by Schmeling and adjusted to them. Here you can see Max implementing a crossguard while on the inside, using it to block Joe Lewis's body shots. In just a few moments after the sequence, he would enter the inside yet again. However, this time, he twisted his body to Schmeling's left to create space for an uppercut. He threw a strange, almost straight-like hook for a better angle, before exploding with a cross which rocks Max. From there he uses frames, body shots, and straights to get Max a standing count. After that damage, Lewis simply did what he did best. One thing to note is that Max had to go to the hospital after the fight, as one of Lewis's kidney punches actually cracked several vertebrae in Max's back. Just shows how hard he hits. Another great example of Lewis adjusting after tough matches is his 2 fights with Arturo Godoy. Although Lewis didn't get knocked out like he did against Schmeling, the first fight was competitive, both fighters having their moments. Joe won a decision, but throughout the event, he was having trouble with Arturo's clinching and head positioning. Arturo would frequently duck down while moving forward, before exploding into leaping hooks and clinching. In their second fight, however, Lewis not only prevented Arturo from clinching up as much, but he also timed crosses with his opponent's head movement. In addition, he would get angles to attack from while Arturo's weight was not in position to defend or retreat. While most discussion on Joe Lewis's punching excellence surrounds his brilliant cross, there's many other techniques and attributes that made him so imposing. Although he did get hit and was knocked down occasionally over the course of his title reign, he would always answer back at some point or another, 23 of those times stopping the fight. Joe Lewis was very parry heavy and would often use parries to set up counters. He was so parry heavy, in fact, that he would almost always parry while jabbing, a risky move considering it endangers your right side. Sometimes it even looks like he's jabbing with both hands because of how far his rear hand goes. While being parry heavy can easily open you up to biting a feint and being hit flush, Lewis always remained defensively responsible after his parries and could roll or duck even if his opponent timed it well. After his fight with Schmeling, his inside fighting improved considerably as well. He became much more aggressive in the clinch and was incredibly skilled at making small adjustments to make room for punches. He particularly found success with the right uppercut to left hook combination. Here's a great clip of Lewis versus Galento, in which he pries at Galento with jabs to bait a counter, before parrying, jabbing again to temporarily blind him, before throwing a powerful cross. Notice how much he loads up on the cross before throwing, to the point that his right foot swings forward when he does throw, also giving him an advantageous position for the left hook. This is similar to one of Mike Tyson's frequently used techniques, where he would change his stance mid-gazelle hook. While Lewis's cross was already very powerful, his stance also helped him generate even more power, as he would lean slightly to his power side and have a bit more weight on his rear foot. With his weight being more behind him and to his right, when he shot his cross, his weight would swing to the opposite side, his front and his left. He was not only amazing at setting up the cross, but also executing it, with immense power to go with his timing and precision. Joe Louis was one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time, and his technique is undoubtedly some of the best ever, regardless of weight. He was a master at setting up power shots as well as finishing opponents, and he was a true American hero to go with it. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown and learned something from it that you can use in your own training. Rest in peace, Joe Barrow Louis.